There, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 100. We've made it to day 100 already of the Get Your Goals Annual Challenge. We're working on spiritual well-being, spiritual health. This month just came off Easter yesterday. It was Easter Sunday yesterday. And today we're going to talk about something different. I like to do something different on landmark days, and I consider day 100 of a challenge, a milestone landmark day. The vast majority of people will never do even a 5-day challenge, much less a 100 days of a 365-day challenge. So today, I did something different. I actually did this last night, or I guess yesterday afternoon after eating way too much Easter dinner. And I was thinking about at dinner perspective and how we view things. And I got to thinking about, well, when I want to do something, how do I feel about that thing and what makes it work for me? So if I'm looking at this with respect to my spiritual goals, my perspective and my spiritual goals, how does that help me to achieve and get what I want more easily and effortlessly? So I looked at want to do something, need to do something, have to do something, and ought to do something. To me, ought is kind of like should do's, and need is, it's got to get done. It's kind of, so the first thing I did was I said, okay, well, what does want to feel like to me? And then I said, well, if I want to do something, and that's my perspective for achieving my spiritual goals, how is that going to impact me? And what are some things I could do that, if that is my current perspective, to get what I want more easily and effortlessly? So I did that for each of those 4 things, for want to, have to, need to, and ought to. It was kind of interesting. And then you can see I did this. It was a lot. And I can't read it to you because I can't see well enough. But jotting down the notes helps me think of things. And then I did a write-up on this as well in Guide 17 of the Get Up and Go Challenge private Facebook group. If you're not part of that, I think you're kind of missing out, because in there are obviously 17 different sections with literally, I think thousands now, but hundreds for sure, of different ways of looking at the SOAP framework, different ways of getting up and going and keeping moving and making progress and moving forward in your life. Last year's 365-day challenge is in Guide 15, I believe. This year's Get Your Goals Annual Challenge, all 100 days after I post today's, will be in Guide 16. And Guide 17 in February, I started doing a little playing with ChatGPT, since everybody was talking about it. And I started doing a write-up for each day of the challenge. So I did that for today's, and I'll copy and paste it in. Remember, I don't edit those. I have not edited those. I'm just playing with the tool. So if you're looking for perfect writing, no redundancy, no continue tabs, etc., you're not going to find it there, but you will find some great information. And it's great general information for the most part. It's common knowledge, and not common knowledge because most people don't know it, because the topics we're talking about aren't really common knowledge to most people. But it's a great way to get a little deeper in the topics that we're talking about. So that's why I started playing with it. And if I like it, so far I liked it in February, so I did it in March, and I'm doing it again in April. I might go back, maybe this summer I'll get some time, or maybe when I have my heart surgery, I'll get some time and I'll go in and I'll go back and I'll do the topics for January, and I'll post those, but I have not done that yet. So if you go in there looking for January, you're not going to find them. So what's our action item today? Today, I want you to make a list with the columns, and with 4 columns. Just put want to, need to, or want, whatever way you want. Want, need, have, and ought. Put 4 columns, or write down 4 categories on a piece of paper. And then just think about, with respect to your spiritual goals, what do you want? What are the things you want to do? Then think about, what are the things that you are thinking that you need to do, right? I need to go to church more. I need to, read the Bible. I need to tap into my spirituality. I need to meditate. I need to take care of myself. Whatever they are. What do you have to do? And to me, haves are like musts. I must do this. I have to do this. And make sure it's I have to do this for me kind of thing. And then ought to. What do you think you should do with respect to your spiritual goals and objectives? And then I'll just give you an example of one. What I did for, I did this for each one of them, but then I thought about what are some tips for implementing. If I've got a need to attitude about this particular spiritual goal, how do I go about implementing that? What are some tips? Because if I need to do it, and we have to define each of these things for ourselves. What does have to, need to, want to, and ought to? What does that mean to you? For me, I'm sharing ought to means I should do it. Now, it doesn't mean I want to do it just because I should do it. It might be because my family is very religious and they think I should be the same religion as them. And so I get this, I ought to be involved in the church when that might not be what I really want to do. So let's look at that one. Let's look at ought to. So for ought to, ought to. So for ought to, I wrote down, and we'll see if I can read some of it. Some of the tips I said: shift my mindset from obligation to choice. So if I think of something that I ought to do or should do, I'm usually thinking of that from someone else's perspective. Someone else is influencing me to believe that I should do something or I ought to do something. Society, my family, my friends, past experiences. But for whatever reason, I want to switch that from thinking I should do it to that I am choosing to, and that I actually want to do it, right? If I'm making a choice, it's like my definition of struggle. If I personally believe struggle in areas and aspects of our life is 100% optional. I can go with the flow of things, or I can push against them and resist them, and then I'm struggling. But either way, it's my choice in how I want to react to and respond to the current situation. Same is true of how I want to look at my spiritual goals. I can think I ought to do something, or I can think I'm choosing to do this. And if it's my choice, it takes the emotion and the struggle and the negativity out of it, because it's something I'm doing for me versus something I'm doing for a reason outside of me, right? Well, maybe I care about what people are going to think of me if I don't have these spiritual beliefs and goals. Well, that's crazy. That's not going to motivate me to do anything. Another tip would be to focus on the positive aspects of spiritual growth and development. Most of us want to feel good about our lives and feel like we're connected to something bigger than ourselves, and personally develop and grow and have spiritual development. But again, it needs to be from our desire, not from someone else's desire. So if I think about what's in it for me, what are the positives for me to achieving my spiritual goals and objectives, I'm much more likely to work toward them. Have some self-compassion, cut yourself a break. I have to remind myself this a lot, because there's still a lot of shoulds that show up in my life that I wish didn't show up. Find a way to make the journey fun and achieving your spiritual goals and objectives fun. Stop, celebrate, pat yourself on the back, reward yourself for when you do achieve each of the little milestones you set for yourself. And finally, if you need to, seek out a mentor or spiritual community or people outside of you that can help you. This applies to a lot of these different perspectives. But the exercise today is just to think about and categorize your spiritual goals into these categories and see if you learn anything more about yourself in terms of achieving your spiritual goals and objectives. I thought it was a really fun exercise. It was different. I like to come up with weird, different exercises sometimes, and this is one of them. Any questions on this, hit me up. I suppose I could take a picture of this and somebody else could like blow it up and read it and figure out what it says in the comments. If you want to see that, hit me up and let me know. Otherwise, do this, have fun with it, have an awesome day, and I'll of course be with you tomorrow. Happy day 100.